Hey everyone, how's it going? I am live on the internet. Hope you guys can hear me okay. I'm using a slightly different microphone setup this time. So, if you can hear me, please let me know. Give me a little thumbs up action in the chat. So, my plan today is to make some simple little animated digital stickers that you can use in like Instagram stories or anywhere else you want. I have a whole bunch of them on Giphy. So if you're ever interested in using them, when you're on the Giphy tab on whatever social media platform you're using where you can choose GIFs, if you just search my name, I think you can just do Crispyastic, but at Crispyastic definitely works too. And you'll see all the ones that I've made there. But there's like this little guy here. I'm learning this software, which allows me to like pop things up, which is kind of cool. I'm excited about that. Little things like this. Got this smooth one. Whee! Really stepping up my live stream game here. Thanks for the feedback, Mick Frokster. Did you change your name? Glad that you can hear me well. Hi, Corp Academy. Hey, Raymond. Hey, Barry. Thanks for the feedback, everyone. I really appreciate that. Is the video quality good too? There's no lag or anything like that? The first one that we did, the video was awful, so I upgraded my internet to like the best that they could possibly do, and I'm hardwired, so hopefully everything is good. And I'm not leaving. I don't know why I played the Sia thing. We'll get another one here. I'm just having too much fun using these little pop-ups, but we're gonna have a good time. So as I mentioned, I'm planning on making some of these things live here. I don't know how many we'll get to, but I don't know if you have suggestions for some that you would like to see. Maybe I'll do them. The one hang up being that it's first thing in the morning for me. So I've had a whole bunch of coffee, which makes my hand a little shaky, which is great for the more rough type lettering that I do. But the smooth stuff, not so good for that stuff. So we'll see. Oh, thanks, Sean. What? Why did I think you had a different username last time? I don't know. Hey, Art Nut. I'm pretty good. How are you? I got a smoothie here. I'm trying to fuel myself to make these drawings. So let me look at my list here so I can get started with one. Oh, thanks, Art Nut. I guess we talked in DM not long ago. Well, nice to see you again. So I have a list here of potential ideas for these things. But if you have suggestions, put them in the chat. Maybe I'll draw them. No promises, though. I wanted to. I think I want to do one for like dead. You know how people use that in like a funny way, like if something's too cute, but also like if you're tired. I feel like it'd be pretty universal, and it will be good for my shaky hand. So I'm gonna do that. Let me switch over to my iPad view. Yeah, good point about the shaky hands, because when you're trying to draw smooth lines and you got that coffee hand, things are not good. Why on earth did it switch to this camera? That is not what we want. Apparently my iPad is not connected properly, so we're gonna figure that out real quick. I had this issue the first time that I tried to live stream, so hopefully that is not the case. Um, Also, my mic just switched. Sorry for the technical difficulties. I let's see. Yes, Arna, I am in the USA. Thanks for joining quickly, Alfonso. Guaxer, yes, I did do. I did pick a winner for the iPad case. It was Pink Cloud LLC. I went live on Instagram to do that. So, if you missed it, you can see that video. It's just a short little video where I just use and have some nice detail. So, probably go with 2000 by 2000 just to pick a random size that's not too big. Okay. So I set, everyone can see my screen. Is that good? Add to broadcast. Awesome, Sean. I'm glad that you got your Zugu case. Seems like a bunch of people got them after my review and are happy with them. I've got mine on right here still. Pretty excited about it. So I am gonna start trying to draw this little dead animation. So I'm gonna grab just like a pencil brush first because I like to sketch with a pencil. And I am gonna just start. Maybe just figuring out what it would look like. I don't know if I want them to like overlap. I want there to be some sort of like, I don't know, skull aspect to it. So I'm trying to figure out what we'll do there. Maybe there's a way where we can put it in the A or something. Maybe like teeth at the bottom there. I don't know if that's gonna, well, maybe if my drawing process is a lot of talking through things and making new layers and making things transparent. This might possibly work. Let me just focus on the A first and see if we can do something. So maybe the line across could be like teeth. Let's see if this would actually read like an A. The cool thing about seeing this is you can see how awful my drawings look when I'm trying to figure something out. I don't know. I don't like that either. Let's see if the smart thing would have been if I like tried to plan ahead of time for what I was going to draw, and then it just made it look like I was great right off the bat. Or I should have started with something easy. Maybe there could just be a skull that comes up with the type. Anyone have any suggestions here? Because I'm clearly struggling. Oh, maybe we can morph the word dead into a skull. I think that's a good idea. Let's do that. Okay, so let's not overthink this. Let's delete all this other stuff. I'm going to try to make this not complicated because I want to do more than just one of these, and sometimes the morphs can get tricky, but let's see how fast we can do an animated morph. So I'm just going to go with this as a guide for the lettering. I'm going to bring down the transparency. I'm going to grab a different brush. I'm going to use another one that I like a lot, which is the Retro Supply Co. Classic Inker brush. I actually have affiliate links to the Retro Supply brushes in my video descriptions. So if you're interested and you make a purchase through that link, I get a little cut that helps support the channel. No pressure, just, you know, supposed to say that kind of thing so that I can grow the channel. So this brush has some grit to it, which I really like, and it also blends well with my highly caffeinated shaky hand. Look at that, it's literally shaking. I don't know if that's ideal. All right, so we got our dead type. I feel pretty good about that. I have no issues there. Um, let's try to morph it into his skull. So before I do the animation, like keyframe timeline thing, I'm just gonna bring down the opacity and then draw a skull to go with this, just to sort of get the size accurate so it's sort of relevant. This is a lot of pressure. One of my goals in life is to be able to consistently draw a skull that I don't hate, because I really love the way skulls look and I get so excited about cool looking skulls, but I just feel like I'm never satisfied with the skulls that I draw. I just wish that they were somehow a little bit cooler. Like I want them to be unique. Um, and, they never are what I want. I'm missing chats here because I got distracted and a little overwhelmed. Let's see what's going on here. Let's add this to the broadcast. I'm new to Fresco. Is there a Gaussian blur option, or do I need to use the smudge tool? To be honest, I do not know because I don't use blur effects really. I know the smudge tool would work for that. There are some setting things, but I don't think there's a blur, unfortunately. The cool thing about Fresco, though, is you can go back and forth between Photoshop and Fresco seamlessly. So if I was working on this, I could just close the file and then go to my computer, open up Photoshop, and then it would just appear there because it's in Adobe Creative Cloud, and then I could apply whatever filter I wanted in Photoshop, come back, save it, come back to my iPad, and the file would be updated from the Photoshop thing. So that's really cool. Hey R2Fit, thanks for joining from Germany. That's amazing. Then this maybe make the A into a skull. I think that would be cool. The skull could be inside the hole in the A. So we've got some good options here. The teeth in the skull could be made into the type. Yeah, see, these are good. What I've decided on since we started was that I'm going to, because the D's have the holes in the center on the outsides, we could pull those in together, and those could become the eyes, and then the A could drop down to be the teeth. So it's sort of combining what you guys have all suggested. This is very real to me, JK. Skulls have been done so much, making them unique is like the quirk that sets certain styles apart. Yours are pretty cool. Just keep working on what I appreciate that. So I don't hate this one yet, but I'm gonna try to just, I don't know. I wanted one more attempt. I think that I like when they have big eyes like this. I'm sort of doing exactly what I did the first time, but I think now that I have the outline for the shape there, I can sort of start with the feature part, like the mouth and the nose. I like this little sort of frown situation, but I need to fix the spacing here on the teeth. Yeah, that one. Yeah, we need an extra one. Okay. So instead of this lump over here, I'm gonna make sort of like an eye socket, I guess, and then pull that down a little bit. That's a little too wide. Yep. This is why I hate drawing on paper now, because it's so easy to just restart over and over again. Okay. So I liked those little, the inset, so you could see like that inside of the skull eye socket to give it a little depth like that. Do that over here. You have the word dead popping out of the eye hole. That would be cool, but I want to make it like a loop so that it can just rotate seamlessly. So I think morphing the word into the skull would do that pretty well. I'm gonna give the little nose thing there. I'm pretty happy with that one. I like that. Let's see. Thanks, Barry. The tooth falling out of the skull at the end might be funny. Well, we'll see. Maybe we could do that. How about having the word dead sinking into the ground and making the skull pop out of the ground in a zombie fashion? That is a great idea. However, I am trying to do a bunch of these, so that's going to be a little too complicated. So I'm going to keep it relatively simple here so that we can make this morph happen. Okay, so to do this, what we need to do is I'm going to grab the magic wand and select the line work or my skull drawing here. And I'm going to turn off that layer. I'm going to go back to my lettering layer and I'm going to click on the timeline in the bottom right corner. I'm going to add a frame. And now I'm going to use the paint bucket to fill in my drawing. I'm doing this so that I have it on this in the timeline sequence. So that's our starting frame. I think I'm going to fill in the counters on the letters because that'll help with the morph. And what we'll do now is we'll add a new frame in between them. And then we'll open up our settings, we'll turn on our onion skin. And I'm going to bring down the opacity a little bit so that we can, so it's not too dark. And then I'm going to bring the frames down to 1 just so that as we get further, I don't have to see lots of, I only want to see the previous and the next frame because then it can get complicated. And then I'm bringing the frame rate down to, let's say 10. I like to do about 10 or 12. 12 is like traditional animation, sort of. It's actually usually 24 frames per second, which is standard video. And then animation is animated usually on 2s. So that would equal, so that's like 2 frames for every 1 frame. So that would be 12 frames per second, which is sort of standard for animation, but obviously things are very different, like crazy hyper rendered animations like Toy Story or something, or like Disney things would be a higher frame rate, but like old cartoons, stuff like that, usually 24 frames per second, 12 frames per second. Okay, so in order to morph this, it'll be just like the type 1 that we did last week, if you saw that video. But we're going to slowly try to change the word into the skull a little bit at a time. So I want to make the counters of the D's become the skull. So I'm actually going to do an experiment in here and see how few frames we can do this in and have it still read okay. So I'm going to utilize an animation smear, which is where you cover a large distance in one single, or a lot of motion in one single frame, which gives the illusion of a blur. So what I'm going to do is connect the eye and the counter for the D. And this is sort of like that visual smear where we're going from one point to the next point all in one movement. But instead of going all the way to the edge, I'm going to bring it in a little bit closer. That way the final frame will just like pop into place a little bit. And then I'll do the same thing over here. Oops. don't know what I did, but it stopped drawing for a second. I'll go like that. Bring that in. And now I'm just gonna fill that in. And then I'm gonna grab the white to just sort of hint at this, the eye socket thing that's gonna appear, so it doesn't come out of nowhere. So as you're doing this, you can sort of see the relationships of where things can happen. And like this, the counter to the A right here is like exactly, or almost like exactly the same size as the nose. So this is perfect. We can actually do a great little blend here. So I'm going to take the starting point of that counter and then bring it all the way down to the bottom and just try to do it in one quick frame. And then we can start that white part in there. Whoops. Fill that in. Thanks for joining in, Black Lodge Design. Glad that you could make it for a second, but good luck picking up your kids. Let's see. JK, the main difference between Procreate and the free version of Fresco is the cloud storage and access to all the brushes. That is correct. Everything else is exactly the same. I think you're limited to 200 brushes as opposed to infinite brushes, and you don't get that massive iCloud storage that comes with the premium version. The other thing is there's a lot of confusion about the pricing of the premium version of Fresco. I feel like I've become like an Adobe spokesperson because I answer so many questions about this because I like Fresco a lot, but I have nothing to do with Adobe. But there's so much stuff on the internet, especially on like Adobe sites that they haven't fixed, that says that Fresco is $9.99 a month, and that is not true. The premium version of Fresco is $9.99 per year, and that includes everything, all the brushes, the storage space. It's $9.99. The one that's $9.99 a month includes the full version of Photoshop and some other stuff, and like Adobe Portfolio and stuff like that. And let's see, the main difference between Procreate and the free version, oh, we talked about that. Fresco has vector snipping tool, which is very cool. No, well, Procreate doesn't have vector at all. So yeah, that's Fresco definitely does. I mean, Procreate definitely doesn't have that. Besides the vector side of things, what are you asking there? The vector brushes are in the free version as well. Okay, so what else do we need to do here? So we need to get the top of this skull shape from this D. So what I'm going to do is just start with, I'm going to switch to the brush first. I'm going to start with this outer line and then just sort of pull this almost all the way up like that. So we're just imagining that D shape stretching up to become the skull. So we'll do the same thing with this part of the D. And maybe we'll bring that to like that. And then we can start like a new line off of it, so it's sort of splitting. And that way we can carry that in for the next one. And this bottom part of the E, we just make it a little bit shorter. So what you're doing is you're just moving, you're taking each frame and moving the drawing a little bit closer to where it needs to go. So you can see here the bottom of the A, the shape right here, and then the teeth. So what I would do is trace the bottom, these side parts of the A, because those line up with the teeth perfectly, and so does the bottom of the line. So what I'm going to do is just start pulling that line up to make the teeth. And then the center part, we can just pull that line down a little bit to make those teeth. And then let's see, what do we got going on here? So there's this line is coming in. So we can just take the bottom line of the A, move that over a little bit, like that. And we can just take this part of the E and sort of move it over a little bit, bring that down. And then let's just pull the bottom part of the E down a little bit, and then we can pop the rest in. So this, let's just take this part of the D and then bring it over like that. It's a little confusing right now, but this is going to be good. So the only thing that we need to sort of make something happen with is this top line of the A. So I'm just going to move that up higher. So it's just like it's shifted up. Let me know if this is a little confusing. The vector stuff, the files can be exported to AI. Yeah, when you're using the vector brushes and you go up to the publish thing at the top, you'll see open up copy as a second option, and you can open an Illustrator for iPad or desktop. So if you choose desktop, it'll open up an Illustrator on your computer. So anything done with the vector brushes will be vector. So like if I opened up this in Illustrator, it wouldn't be vector because this is a raster brush. You have to use the vector brushes for it to be vector. So you can have vector or raster layers, but you have to use vector tools for it to be vector. Okay, so let's add a new frame, and it looks like my settings are off. For some reason, it keeps going back to 3, putting this to 1. And what this does now is it just shows us the drawing we just did and then the next drawing. So we're a little bit closer. Why is it doing this to me? Go to 1, stay there. Okay. So now we're just going to make everything a little bit closer. So this line of the D, what I'm going to do is just pull it closer and make it more rounded. So we're just pulling that in. We can finish the eyes because we did that that big blur of movement. So I'm just going to have the eyes just pop into place. And if we want to add like an extra effect, we could put some like line work in, like maybe could draw some like motion blur lines. So like that black sort of shape dispersing, and then start to get that line in there. And then we'll trace over this eye. This one can be good. Am I drawing the frame that would be second or the second to last? So I don't know if we'll probably need to do another frame after this, but this is the third frame. So we've got the first frame, which is the word, and then it's starting to morph, and now we're here. And this potentially could be the last frame. We'll have to see. It's sort of like, play it by ear and see if it looks smooth, or we might need another one. But I'm trying to do this in the least amount of frames possible. So this is ready to go. We could put some little action lines there if you want. Those things tend to give it a little more character and make it look a little more fluid. Can just close this up a little bit, but not have it be too sudden. And let's see. I think the teeth are probably fine. We can maybe pull these ones halfway down since they're a little bit shorter. These are ready to go. Maybe we can sort of have those lines disperse a little bit. Then there was this leftover line, so what I like to do is just sort of have it split and go both ways. This line ending there is sort of perfect because it can shift up in the next frame. And this angle over here, we can just straighten that out a little bit and then extend this down further to become the bottom of the jaw. And then this line here, we can just move it up and maybe just connect with that. So this might be enough. So let's set this to boomerang so that it goes to the end and then starts back. So it's hard to tell because it doesn't stop at the end, but I think the actual movement is enough. So what I would do now is, because I want it to keep that sort of vibrating animation look, and I don't want it to just stay static when it's on one word or the skull at the end. So what I want to do is create a loop of each thing that we could duplicate if we wanted to. So what I mean by that is I would just make a new frame and then trace over the lettering 3 times, and then we could duplicate that if we want it to be up longer. So I'm going to actually add in an extra frame so that we don't see the skull frames. So I'm just going to trace this pretty accurately. You don't want to go too crazy because then it'll look wild when it shakes, but if you just trace it naturally, the subtle like imperfections and the fact that you're redrawing it will give it that nice little vibration. So I know that there's someone from Germany. I forget the name right now, but where else is everyone from? Let me know in the comments. I'm really curious how wide the viewing group is. Sorry, I'm a little incoherent this morning. My son had some mild surgery on Monday, but he hasn't been sleeping that well, so it's been, a little sleep deprived. UK, cool. We got Germany, we got UK. Am I the only one in the United States here? New Mexico. Oh, cool. Thanks, Raymond. That's awesome. My mom used to live in New Mexico before I was born, though. Originally from NY and now reside in Florida. It's funny because I just said that my mom used to live in New Mexico. My mom currently lives in Florida. She lives outside of Tampa. Oh, thanks, Justin. Another one from the UK. That's pretty cool. I guess the timing sort of makes sense because aren't you guys like 6 hours ahead of me, or us in the U.S. on the East Coast? Okay, so we've got these 3 frames, and those will give us a little bit of a wiggle. And 3 is enough that it will look like a natural rhythm. If you just did 2, it would sort of look like flashing back and forth. But 3, you could do more than 3, make it look even more natural, but 3 is usually enough, especially for something rough like this. So I think to give the viewer enough time to actually read it, I think I'm going to do 2 sequences because it's just a short word. So what I'm going to do is go to the first one, duplicate it, and then drag that to the end of the sequence, and then duplicate number 2, then drag that to the end of that sequence, and then go to 3, duplicate 3, and drag 3 to the end of the sequence. So now if we play that, you'll see we can actually read the word, but now we need some more skulls. So I'm going to do the same thing, make a new layer, and trace over our skull. Neon Nation, Dayton, Ohio. Thanks for joining from Dayton, Ohio. I've actually never been to Dayton, Ohio. Actually, I think I've driven through Ohio a bunch of times. Did I just freeze my app? What is happening? Leave it for the live session for this to happen. This almost never happens to me. Well, looks like all is well. It's just a little hiccup. Barry, you're in Nashville. Cool. That's that's cool. Have I been to Nashville? I don't think I have been to Nashville. I'd like to go to Nashville. Seems like a cool place. I was gonna erase that, but I don't need to because it's in my line work. So this is can be a little tedious, but I don't know. Sort of relaxing too, maybe? I don't know. And we just do it once more. Tokyo. Hey, Terry. That's awesome. I can't believe how diverse of locations we've got. Also, Helsinki, Finland. That is super cool. Thank you all so much. Yeah. Add these to the broadcast. We got Helsinki, we got Tokyo. Sean, thank you for saying hope for a quick recovery for my son. Yeah, he's doing fine. It was a very it wasn't like a super serious surgery, but you know, he's he's only like 18 months old, so he doesn't know what's going on, so he's just a little baby. We're gonna do an easy one next. I guess this isn't that complicated, but you know. All right, we might not need to duplicate the skull because we have it set to boomerang. So what boomerang does is it goes to the end and then turns around and repeats. That way the morph is seamless. So because it goes to the end, it's already gonna have double the frames for the skull. So let's play it and see what we're dealing with here. So it's pretty good. It's pretty fun. It's I think it's cool that we only did literally 2 frames to get from the type to the skull. So it's like a little jumpy, but I feel like that sort of goes with the aesthetic, and I think those little motion lines sort of help carry it. But I think it works pretty well. I'm pretty happy with it. We got Slovenia. I'm gonna add that to the thing. Thanks for joining. Okay, we did that. So that is good. We could export that as an animated GIF if we wanted to, and it'd be ready to go. But instead of doing that right now, I'm going to do a new one. All right, what should we do next? Any quick suggestions? Nice little whip from the text of the skull. Thanks so much, Corp Academy. Hi from my digital art classroom, Los Angeles. Hey, Brendan. Thanks for joining us. All right. Well, because my app quit a second ago, which was weird, I'm going to do FML. You guys know what that means. I'm not going to have a potty mouth in the chat, but it's 3 letters. So it'll be a quick and easy one. The thing we have to decide is if we want it to be like a FML or like a FML. You know what I'm saying? What do we think? What is the vibe of how we're saying it? Like it could be a sort of like a wiggly one. FML or just like a Maybe it could be, we can make it like pop up, like a 3D burst thing. Hey Kevin, hey Brandy. FML, empty toilet roll. Yes, that is a very good FML. Guagster, the word hot to cold and red to blue. Those would be good transitions. However, I want to make things to use for like, Instagram stories to overlay on things, or like response things to add to my Giphy things, because I've been wanting to update that for a while, and I think these would be a good ones. Maybe should we do the pop-up 3D thing? What do you guys think? I feel like that might be a fun thing to try. I'm just gonna start. I'm gonna go in on one. So we want to make it look like, I'm trying to think if we should do. Yeah, I think it should be like some frenetic letters where it's just like, I don't want it to be too close to the dead one, but I think we could make it look like yelling by. First thing I'm going to do is turn down the smoothing on my brush so that I can actually have some control over sharp angles. So I don't know, maybe we try. Actually, I think these letters wouldn't work out well because we want to do the 3D thing. Let's not overthink it. Let's just have a. We can get that same feel by just going extra with this jiggly line, and then being less perfect with the tracing over. We're just making some mad letters right here. These are very angry. Maybe we can make them a color this time. A mad color. I guess red is mad. No! Do you have any recommendations on smoother lines in Fresco? I noticed when having smoothing on at 100, I still don't get smooth lines as you do in Procreate, especially with the vector brushes. So the one thing that Procreate does better is the smoothing. And I know that Adobe is working on it, but Procreate has a very unique system for smoothing their lines, and it's definitely different, and it's definitely really good. I do miss that a little bit. So the smoothing, I like the smoothing in Fresco, but I do think the Procreate smoothing is a little bit better, but I don't know, I still feel like it's pretty good. What it does is it slows things down a little bit and it just sort of smooths out your lines. I think it works pretty well. The Procreate does allow you to like hold and snap curves too, which is nice, but I think it also depends on the brush you're using too. Some brushes work really well with smoothing turned up. I don't know if that's helpful. Okay, so we've got our FML lettering. So let me just make it a little less hard to read. Give a little more space there. So I think what we'll do is have like a sequence of the FML, and then we'll have it like pop up bigger. I can't. The red is too. I don't like just, I don't know, just straight up red. I'm wondering if we can get away with like pink or something. It's still a little bit angry. Maybe orange. A good orange? I don't know. Picking colors is not something that I enjoy. I like colors. Picking them, I get annoyed with. Okay, so let's just undo that new layer, and I'm going to click on the timeline thing, and I'm going to add a new frame. Turn on onion skin. Bring the opacity down. And bring the frames for a second to, we'll do 12 this time. See how that goes. And now I'm going to trace this and bring my smoothing back. Bring my smoothing back down so that I can get some sort of frenetic line work here. And you'll see how much of a difference this makes as opposed to when I tried to trace accurately on the last one, where that gave us a subtle vibration. This will be a little crazier. Yeah, the shaky hand folks definitely need the smoothing. That is very real to me. I definitely have shaky hands, and I really depend on the smoothing. The other thing I miss from Procreate is the snapping shapes, but I've been assured from the fine folks at Adobe that the snapping shapes, like circles, are coming to Fresco very soon. And I trust that because they update all the time. Lots of good updates. They recently streamlined the process for motion preview because it used to lag a little bit when it got really complicated, and it's just dramatically fixed. Sean, you're planning on purchasing Paperlike. Cool. I recommend it, obviously, if you've seen my video. I think it's great. As I mentioned, I also think that the those like Amazon ones that are really cheap work pretty well too. But the Paperlike one is a bit less cloudy, as I mentioned. Though I am getting lots of I'm already getting lots of scratches on the Paperlike, which is common with all of the sorry, hold on. I lost what I was doing. It's common with all of the screen protectors from just drawing on it with the pencil, because the glass is able to withstand that, which I think, is why they come that way. But it's not really that noticeable unless you have like a light overhead, and I'm noticing it a bunch today because I have a light on me so that you guys can see me here. This is chaotic lettering. I thought we were going to do a simple one. Why don't you guys let me do this crazy line work here? I'm actually curious how this is going to look because it's pretty wild, and it may be too much, but we're learning together here. We're seeing what happens. My whole experience with like learning animation like this has been experimenting, because I didn't learn it traditionally or even like take online classes. I just was trying different things and seeing what worked and what didn't work. And I kept noticing that things, because the frames happen so fast, like you could get away with so much, and it just got really fun. I feel like that looks a little FML-y. Like, yeah, I feel like there's a little bit of anger there. What do you guys think? Is it too crazy, or do you feel the rage? Okay, so I want to make this do a 3D thing as well, even though I sort of sort of think it looks kind of good on its own. Hey V, thanks for joining. Hey Barry, you are interested in the tip covers. So you know what? I I saw those and I was curious about how they work and what they're like, and um, maybe I should try them out. Maybe I could do a video about that. That would be fun. I like reviewing things. I teach a class in real life 2 days a week, but one of my students has this gnarly like metal little tip on her Apple Pencil, which I didn't even know they made them, and it feels terrible. I hate it so much. Um, Whenever I'm like helping her do something, it just like feels violent, but she likes it. She thinks it helps her get more detail. I don't feel like detail is an issue here. I know I said I was going to make this 3D, but I feel like this expresses the FML thing on its own. So I think we're just going to leave this as is, and we're going to move on and do something new. Unless you guys aren't satisfied. But well, you know what? I'm in charge here, so I'm going to do something new. All right. Let me look at my list, unless you guys have some suggestions here. Neon Nation, drawing on the glass screen versus the screen protector was nice. Yeah, I can't stand how it feels to draw on the glass. Even just like, I don't know, using an iPad and like sliding my finger across the glass. I don't know if I like tactile issues, but whew, I hate that feeling. All right, we did dead and then FML. Maybe we can do something a little more nice. V, it reminds me of 2000s cartoons. My FML thing. Thank you. I feel like that's, a big inspiration for me. Toronto. We got people everywhere. It's crazy. Thanks for joining. All right, let's do something nice, like love it. I feel like that's a nice one. We can do some script here. Let's do that. Sorry, I keep wiping my nose like a weirdo. It's like a bad allergy season for me when it's fall is happening and it's starting to get cold. Brandy, you have the opposite issue. You don't use a screen protector because you like the glass feel of paper. Yeah, that is weird. But I know that I'm weird too, so who knows. All right, I'm going to use a smooth brush for this one because we're going to write love it. So I'm going to use this Kyle Webster brush. Before I was talking about the Retro Supply brushes because I have those affiliate links, but all of Kyle Webster's brushes are free in the premium version of Fresco. I think you could still get a lot of them in the free version, but in the premium version you get any brush Kyle Webster has in Photoshop, and there's so many amazing ones. You would never need to buy a brush again if you didn't want to. And this is coming from someone who has affiliate links for Retro Supply Co. And I do love their brushes, but Kyle Webster is definitely a brush magician. They are pretty great. Hey, we got Paris in the place. You got pen tips. They feel rubbery, but they provide a nice level of resistance. Okay, so they're like rubber. Are they like rubber sleeves that go over the tip? Thanks for joining, Brendan. Go forth and teach the children. Okay, so we're going to use this brush, which is called Too Smooth to Be Forgotten, and I am going to... Where is it? I wanted to use my little overlay. Is it not there? Oh. I don't know how to use it enough. I had that smooth overlay, but we're going to forget about it. Okay, so we are going to use this smooth brush and do... we're going to write love it. So I think it should be swoopy script lettering. I'm going to do like fancy L. I just don't know how we'll... I want it to sort of interact, like become a lockup of the two words. I don't know if it should just be like next to it, love. I mean, we could do something like that, but don't love that. But it's almost sort of makes a heart shape. Maybe we can make that work in the heart shape. Let's bring down the transparency, make a new layer. Oh, my brush is too small. All right, let's see if we can use this shape. So I'm just trying to like use the heart shape. It's getting close. I don't know. Maybe it'll work. Oh, I moved my window over the comments. I can't see them. We got 2 people. The premium version is not heavy. There's Adobe's been so bad about fixing this information. It's only I don't know the exact translation in euro, but it's $9.99 a year in dollars. It says on a lot of their websites that it's a per month, but Fresco is not per month. They changed it like years ago, but they are just so bad about updating their website. It is a one payment per year of $9.99. And oh, you said that love the design of your subscribe button. Oh, thank you so much. Would love to see some stickers and shapes like that. Oh, cool. So let's see if I can make it fit the. So our issue was, I think the V can be a little wider here, and the E can sort of use that shape, that part of the heart a little bit better. And maybe we can have the heart sort of coordinate with the opening of the V. So a lot of stuff like this involves me just sort of getting it a little bit closer, one step at a time, and hoping I can get it there. It's starting to look a little weird. We're starting to get a bit of an angle. Let's rotate it back. I think that'll help it to read a little bit better. V, you stumbled upon a video on Pinterest where you made a magazine out of one paper. So that was just like a fun little zine that I made with a friend. They were just like, we made these like fake advertisements for fake products, and they were just like silly things, like socks for ducks. And yeah, it was just a fun little thing that we did for fun, that we had them like available on our website, and then I used them as like promo stuff. But it was just a fun personal project. I'm not totally in love with this yet. I don't know. Let's see if maybe if it's colored, it'll look better with like the type knocked out of it. Oh, that's a good red. Okay, and then maybe we'll make the type white, and then we can, that looks a little bit better. Let's see if we can work with that. So I guess I'm gonna make my brush size a little bit bigger. bump up these lines a little bit. Let's find the problem areas. I think the swoosh under the L needs to come up a little bit so we can make it a little bit bigger. And let's see if we can pull the L back a little bit. And then we can pull the O over a little bit, which will let the V kind of coordinate with the middle of the heart again. And the E can come up like that. And now we've got a little bit more room for the T, so that can come up a little bit higher, like that. And maybe, I don't think we need, well, I don't know. I'm trying to decide if we need like that part of the I. Does that read like it? Can you guys read this okay? What do we think? Does it need some little bursts? Love it. Maybe if we emphasize it like that, it'll help. I think we'll go with it. If you can get a dot over the I, it might improve legibility. Yeah, you're right. We'll do one more iteration to try to get that. That's a very solid point. Let's see. Let's, I think if we come a little bit tighter with that line, put a little dot right there. I think I like the little bursts. We'll see. Okay, so instead of redrawing that top part for finalizing the sketch, I'm just going to erase the old it. And let's turn off this other one below, turn that back up. I think that reads pretty well, and now we'll just give it a little bit of weight, and I think we'll be in a good place. So let's merge those two together. Let's bring the opacity down. Let's turn back on this one, and I'm going to fill in the letters so that I can just use this shape as a guide when I'm tightening up this. Yeah, I think breaking the line to do the dot, I think that would be good as well, but I feel like the I is a little bit tall enough here. I think we'll just shorten this. I think this will probably work fine. All right, so let's tighten this up a little bit. I'm going to flip this upside down to pull the line. I find that pulling lines helps me get them the way I want them to look. Gonna make it a little bit wider. So one tip when you're doing script lettering is you want to think about how it would be written, and that will determine where the thick areas and the thinner areas are. So it would be sort of thicker coming down and then get thin on the way up, because in traditional like lettering with a brush, when you're pushing down, the brush is wider, so that the mark is wider, and then on the upstroke, it's thin because you're getting the tip of the brush. Obviously, this brush, digital brush that I'm using, isn't going to naturally do that because it's not set up that way. But there are some brushes that have a lot more pressure sensitivity, but I generally don't like the way those feel. So I know where it should be thicker and thinner and just sort of mimic that without actually using the pressure sensitivity to do it. So this would taper as it goes up, but it would be fuller there. I think I messed up this angle a little bit. Whoops. Somehow selected the wrong layer. Jordan Phillips, what size are you working at? Do you work larger and shrink down to upload? Was just looking at Giphy's guidelines last night. So when I'm doing something animated, I work a little bit smaller than I would if I was doing something for print, because if you work too small, you don't have as much control over your drawings because there's not enough pixels to get detail. So if I'm doing something that I know is just going to be an animated piece, I'll usually work around the 2000 pixel range. I find that makes my files not crazy, but also gives me enough flexibility for detail. They still obviously need to go smaller to be used, but that's sort of a good compromise, I think. So as I was mentioning, the thick and thin, like the downstroke of the O would be thicker than the upstroke because you would draw it, pushing down and going up. So this would stay thin and get thicker as it comes down over the top. I realize that because I'm sharing my screen, you can't see what I'm pointing to. So I might need to figure out I don't know, adding another overhead camera or something. Things can get complicated quickly here. But the E would be wide down there, then taper on the way up. So this is an upstroke on this side, but I'm just gonna transition it there. Technically this would be fatter, but I don't know. Some things I'll just cheat and not do them that accurately. Thanks for joining Core Academy. I appreciate you being here. I plan on trying to do these maybe once a week. I do teach a class in real life on Tuesdays and Thursdays, which means I have to end pretty soon to get there on time. But doing lives before is actually helpful for me because I don't have a lot of time to dive into client work. So I end up not being that productive during this window. But if I schedule a live, I can do a solid hour live stream and feel productive about that, make some things, chat with the people, and but then there's also a hard stop for me because I have to leave. Otherwise I could probably just do this for a very long time. It's fun to just draw, respond to comments. Okay, feel good about the lettering. Let's delete that part. I think what we'll do is we'll keep our heart on its own layer so that we can just worry about the type. Instead of redrawing the heart every single time. We could always copy and paste it, but it can just be on its own layer, which is one of the really great things about animation features in Fresco versus Procreate, is that each layer gets its own timeline. So you can make much more sophisticated animations, and also just, easier to control things. So I am going to make the letters white. And these little bursts. So I think what we could do is we could animate the letters spelling in. Brandy, the new iPad has hover capability, so Fresco supports that the way Procreate is. That would help with pointing. Oh, that's a very good point. It does support it. I saw them demonstrating it at Adobe Live on their like Instagram story or something like that. So let's delete all these extra layers so it gets confusing. Okay, so I'm gonna turn on the timeline thing, open up a timeline, and I'm gonna do a new frame, but then I'm gonna drag it before the other one, or I'm gonna drag the first one after the second one, because that seems to be easier. And now I'm not gonna make a new layer. I'm gonna open up my settings. I'm gonna turn on the onion skin so I can actually see it. And let's animate it like it's spelling out the word. So in order to do this, you just do a little bit at a time and then keep going until you spell out the word. So I just like to start the way that I would actually be drawing it. So just go like that. And then instead of redrawing it, I'm just gonna duplicate that frame so that I can just keep going. So bring this up. Sometimes I like to make squiggly lines to sort of make it look fluid as it's going. We're gonna be cutting this close again like we did last week. Oops, not a new frame. I want to duplicate. So tap on it, duplicate, and that way we can see what we have going on. So I'm gonna change the settings so that we only see the previous and the next frame. That way this doesn't get that weird gray color from overlaying multiple things. So I think we can do this like full downstroke in one shot. And I'm doing like these like organic sort of splashy liquidy thing just to add a little bit of style to it. One thing I noticed on Fresco, an emote for YouTube live chat, and the size should be 48 by 48. However, Fresco doesn't allow me to create that size. I don't know what you're talking about. What is emote? So it doesn't allow you, so it needs to be 48 by 48 inches? Well, you could always work in the same, like, what's the word, aspect ratio? That might work for you. But yeah, I wonder why, because they don't limit your amount of layers. So I don't know. I might I'm gonna ask one of my contacts over there why there's a limit to image size, because I feel like it shouldn't be that way. So when I'm doing a little bit of this at a time so it looks like it's spelling it out, I try to sort of mimic the motions of like how you would be writing it. So what do I mean by that is, like, I start with a little bit and then just sort of goes up, and then like the downstroke is one frame, and then like this up and over, just sort of so that it looks like you'd be writing it. So duplicate that frame. Oops. Then we can just finish that off. I think what I'd like to do so that this isn't a really long animation and goes quicker is I think I'm going to make it animate from both sides of the word. So we'll have it start at the L and then also at the E at the same time. So I'm going to go back to the beginning and I'm actually going to because we didn't do this from the beginning and I can't see the frames anymore, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a copy of this. So I apologize if this is confusing. It'll make sense in a second, I believe. So copy selection, paste selection, and now I'm going to move this below, and I'm going to turn down the opacity, and then come back here to the first layer. And now we can see the lettering. So what I'm going to do is also start it from this side. So we got that. And then I'm actually just going to trace these instead of duplicating them because we already have the rest of the drawing on there. This way the animation process will go much, the animation sequence won't be so tedious, like spelling out the whole word, but it'll still give that same sort of like a spelling out process sequence thing. I guess this is becoming a little tedious to do it this way, so I'm going to grab the magic wand tool, select this, and then on this frame I'll fill that in. Actually, I'll do it on all of these frames. Okay, so there's that. Okay, that's where we left off. So I can deselect that. Oh, emoji, 48 by 48 pixels. Oh, so yeah. So that, I mean, drawing that size would be miserable. When I'm doing something like that, for example, my subscribe thing in the bottom corner, I worked much larger. I just saved it at 100 by or 48 by 48 pixels, whatever size you want it to be. But I would never draw that size. So you would just work in the square 1:1 ratio and then make it smaller. Oh, you're saving the video for reference later. This will be available on my channel too, so you don't have to actually save it if you don't want to. Okay, so we'll go to 5. Trace this over. And then pull this down. Maybe put some little speckles. And then 6. Okay, now we are... All right, let me turn off my onion skin for a second because it got confusing with that other layer there. So let's see what we have. Okay, so I actually want to put, I said actually twice. I want a blank frame at the beginning so that it starts from nothing. So we can play this just to see. Let's bring it down to 12 frames per second, and then if we hit play, cool. It looks crazy because it doesn't stay at the end, but you can see how it's working. Yeah, I think the reason why they won't let you go smaller in terms of pixels is because you wouldn't be able to really do anything. Like the brushes would all be crippled by that format because it's so small. You can't really do anything. So that's why they don't let you go that small. I thought it was the other way where you're trying to go too big. But I think you can. Let's see. Quick export. No, not quick export. Let's do publish and export. Export as. No. I guess you can't. Can you change it here? No. Though I do believe if you saved it as 100 by 100 and then I think YouTube would automatically change it to 48 by 48. But I'm sure even if you don't have Photoshop, there are lots of free apps where you can change the size of a file. So, yeah. I don't know why they don't have that the ability to control sizes. That's something I should ask about as well because I feel like that would be useful. Okay, I am running out of time a little bit, so let's. Oh wait, I thought we were there. So that's okay. I thought we had the whole thing spelled out, but we didn't. All right, so we're gonna undo that. We're gonna duplicate 6 now that we're back on track, and we're gonna turn onion skins back on, and just continue this motion. So we'll go all the way up to the top on the V. Go like that. And we're also going from this side because we're starting from both sides. So we'll do the top of the O. Get some bloopy lines like that. And then we will duplicate and then pull that down. Maybe sort of look like it's a wave kind of flowing up. Whoops. There we go. Sometimes you have to adjust the color margin if your lines are thin in between. And then over here, we can pull this down. When there's curves like this, I like to have it stop like at the beginning of the curve to just sort of lead into the motion, like going around. I feel like it gives it a more lively and natural feel, like that. And then we will duplicate that and then just finish off the finish off love. All right, so we can see how that plays. Pretty cool. And now we just need to get the it. Okay, so let's see. We will love and then so we can duplicate this frame and then just start the eye So we'll keep it thin on the way up because you remember the upstroke is thin and the downstroke, so we wouldn't go all the way over to the full width of the eye because the weight comes as you go down. So animating the upstroke would just be like half the width. And then we can start over here. The problem with this is it sort of is counterintuitive because this is a downstroke, but we're animating it, so it's not. So we're sort of cheating here, but we can do the same thing, or we can treat it like it's an upstroke. All right, so let's duplicate that. And then you can bring this all the way up. Oops, not like that. So I think we'll go up, but not the full width. And then that'll give us the motion to come back down. But we do need to fill in this. So I don't know, that might, we'll see if that looks weird. I don't know, I'm making stuff up as I go here. Okay, and did we do this side already? No. Okay, so this, I'm gonna go like that and then pull this down, go like that. And then we have to address the eye. So what I like to do for things like that is to make it come out of the letter itself. So what do I mean by that is I'm gonna make sort of like a splash, like it's popping out like that. Maybe we can put some little splishy splashers like that. And we can duplicate the frame, but we're gonna have to go in and erase these those lines that we don't want anymore. And then we can pull that up into place and then just sort of finish off that trajectory like that. And then maybe you want to sort of resolve this little splashy bits, so like have them start to, this is the issue when you have a small file size, you like run out of pixels to work with. Okay, and then we can, I think we can go ahead and just finish this T, the whole word actually, the whole it. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to duplicate the final lettering sequence so that I can work from this this one, because the type is a little bit tighter because I drew it all at once. So what we're going to do on this one is just do maybe one more frame to finish that off. Maybe some tiny little dots to resolve those things. And then we need to make these little burst things. So I would just start with little dots at the origins. Okay. And let's see. I'm gonna duplicate that frame. And now we can erase those little thingies. That's all done. And we can extend our little origin point things further. Okay, and we're just going to go to this next frame, which has them full. but I want them to sort of, these little things to burst and go away. So what I'm going to do is duplicate this last frame and then erase those things. I'm actually going to duplicate it again so I don't have to do it again. Duplicate it 3 times. Okay, so here I am going to just extend the burst but have it like start to disintegrate a little bit. Just sort of like dispersing, like it's coming apart. Doesn't have to be perfect, it's just sort of think about making the shape start to just come apart. Like if you look at it, it's nothing special. I'm not like drawing anything neat here. It's just some squiggly lines. And then we will, so since it's exploding out that way, I'm just continuing that trajectory and just thinning things out and making it sort of dissolve. Also, I'll start to maybe bring the shapes lower so it's like kind of falling, like if you think about like a water thing bursting and then sort of coming down. And then in the last one, we'll just do a couple little dots to, you know, make it sort of go away naturally so it's just seamlessly happens. Okay, so we play this. You see those little bursts happen, which is pretty fun. So the only thing I would do to finish this is I would probably draw this love it 3 times or 2 times so that it has that loop, and then duplicate that a few times, and then it would sit on the screen long enough for it to read and then can start over. So unfortunately I have to leave, but I hope this was entertaining or helpful. Hope you enjoyed this. Hey Damien. Yes, I did have an Idols shirt on in a video. I do love the Idols as well. You probably can't see because of the focal length, but I have an Idols print on the wall over there. One of my favorite bands. But thank you all for joining. This was a lot of fun. If you have suggestions for other live streams that you'd like me to do or things you want to see, definitely leave those in the comments so that I can check them out. This video will be up on my channel, so if you want to look at it again or something like that, you should do that. But again, I appreciate you all being here, and I will talk to you soon. Bye. Good talk.